Good afternoon. We will begin the Calcasieu Parish public briefing for Hurricane Laura. Today is August 29th, 2020, 5 p.m. We are in the Calcasieu Parish Government Building. For those of you who have been watching these briefings, you'll notice it's a different look. We had to move from our Emergency Operations Center media area to be over here, and we will probably conduct briefings from this point in this building. But I'm Brian Beam, Calcasieu Parish Administrator. We have several people speaking today. We're glad to have some of the folks that will be reporting regularly, and then we have some good new information for everybody. And we know some folks are here, many, maybe most, are out of the area, and we're trying to reach all of those, and we appreciate you taking part in this virtually today. Real quickly, I'm going to summarize the different topical areas, and of course, we'll take any questions in addition to that. We're going to hear first from law enforcement and some of their responsibilities, then the debris clearance from roads and how that's going, power outages, water system status, and the new items we have today. There has been a federal disaster declaration that includes Calcasieu Parish for Hurricane Laura. There are other parishes as well. We'll hear more on that and any guidance from FEMA. We have a representative from FEMA here today that will be speaking. And we also have a representative from American Red Cross here on their efforts. So we appreciate greatly both of them being here. And we'll wrap up with sort of a summary about reminding citizens what to expect, things they need to be aware of, and hear from some of our elected officials. So let's begin, and we'll start with a report on law enforcement efforts. And for that, we'll ask Sheriff Tony Mancuso to come up.
Thank you. We have a lot, we have a lot going on, all of us. We have we always start off, or I always start off, I want to start about the dangers that we face in our community. We've asked our community to strictly adhere to a curfew, which is, I believe, 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. So, I know that I saw a lot of vehicles other than emergency vehicles driving around last night. So, you're going to get stopped, you're going to get questioned. Unless you're an emergency vehicle, you need to, let's try to do a little better. It's for your safety. There's nothing here. I know your homes are here, and I don't mean that disheartening when I say that. There's not a whole lot of water still up and running. There's no electricity. There's no fuel for anybody. Law enforcement has fuel. Your emergency personnel have fuel, and we're even struggling at that a little bit, but we have it. But the public can't just come in and fill it. This is not normal. So when we talk to you about your comings and going, it's not that we don't want you here. If you come here, you need to be prepared to stay here and be self-sufficient. You got to take care of yourself. You got to have water and food and gasoline to get out of here if you need to get out of here. If we have another storm or something comes up, it's going to be problematic if you don't think of these things right now. I know many people, it does appear to me that many people are coming in, working on their homes, and leaving in the evenings. That's great, but I also want to say one other thing. Our utility companies have to maneuver around you to get their work done. Okay? So the less work that I know, and look, I'm going to say it again. We want you here. You're going to help rebuild this community. We all together are going to help rebuild this community. But we have some really serious challenges to overcome in the next several weeks. So you please listen to what your public officials are saying, and it's dangerous. The bottom line, me as sheriff, that's my job to tell you that. It is dangerous. It's very dark at night, and things that you're used to being there or not being there, you can't judge that in the darkness that we're experiencing. There is no ambient light for us to go by. Don't drive around and sightsee. If you're coming in to work on your stuff, then come in and work and stay in your little zone and and try not to go out and look and see what else is happening with everybody else's homes. I can promise you, we're all in the same boat, me included. We all have some type. I don't know that there's anybody in this parish that doesn't have damage. I can't see it if they didn't. Obviously, some is worse than others, but please don't go out sightseeing. It is dangerous. I think I've talked about most of the, I know we don't have any, we're not getting phone calls for search and rescue, but I do believe we have some crews, and I don't know if it's, I know the state fire marshal, I did talk to him today, and you may see their shirts that say Urban Rescue, Search and Rescue Teams. We are still going door to door just to make sure there's not people in houses that didn't have cell phones or phone service, and trying to see if we can help anybody. And I do believe they have found some people that were in that predicament that just needed help. So we are still in that phase. Don't think when I say, we don't know of any life-threatening issues right now that people are calling us to come rescue them and want to get out. So, but we are still, this is a big parish. It just doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time. This is why we heeded the warnings before this storm came, that it was not going to be easy to get to you in the event we had to get to you. So you can see the difficulties with yourself if you've been here, the difficulties that we're going through. All of your public officials, every one of us. There is nobody in this parish that's not struggling right now. But I'm confident you have the right people in place to fix these problems. But I've even, we talked about it in our executive policy group. This is not going to be fixed next week or the following week or the following week. This is a long-term problematic issue that we're going to have to deal with, us as a community. I said it yesterday, take a deep breath. Everybody, take a deep breath and be very patient, because each time we fix a problem, we sometimes encounter other problems, all right? So we got to really work on this. And let me tell you, I told you before, law enforcement's we're not going to tolerate lawlessness, and our jail's empty. It's miserable. We have no water. It's not a pleasant place to be right now, but we got plenty of room to put you if you break the law. So I do caution you with that. And we're not going to put up with a whole lot. I'll just leave it at that. We did have a problem, or we do have a problem. I've talked to all the area chiefs. Nobody else is reporting any major incidences, any major problems. The Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office is working a double homicide in the Iowa area, and it's very challenging. It's we're, of course, and I feel like we have the best of the best to solve this, but we're encountering challenges and problems that we don't normally have. I'm not going to give you a whole lot of details. I'll release the name. The next of kin have been notified. I'm not going to talk about, and this is mainly to the media, I'm not going to talk about the manner of death, because, again, we have to make sure the information we're getting is credible, and we don't want to talk about those issues. But we had a Joanne O'Brien, 73, and a Zoran O'Brien, 81. We do believe it is a double homicide. We're in the infant stages. We've been there all day. Iowa PD called us in reference to this. We started working the case early this morning. We're still out there. This is, when I say, for us, a real whodunit right now. We got to figure this out, and it's challenging. I can't answer to you a motive other than it doesn't appear to be any type of robbery or anything like that. But that's about the only news I can give you. I know the mayor of Iowa has asked us, and the chief of Iowa. We know people are going to be on edge, and so we're going to try to step up our efforts tonight in every area, which we have, but in the Iowa area specifically. So if you have any information regarding this homicide, please call our office at 491-3605. We still are waiting on the coroner to verify cause of death and all that. But other than that, you know, things are just problematic for all your public agencies. But we're working at it, and we're going to fix them, and we're going to work as hard as we can to get back to some normalcy. I just don't know a timeline on that, and I don't think anybody can give us a timeline on that. So, any questions from the media? If not, I'm on. Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Sheriff. At this time, I'm going to ask Alan Wainwright, the Calcasieu Parish Public Works Director, to come forward to cover the update on clearance of debris from roads.
Thank you, Brian. The update on the roads today has been a very good day in terms of progress. Right now, we're in the push phase, as we explained yesterday, where we're just trying to get the debris that's on the road from two shoulders. So it's a shoulder-to-shoulder push. It's been very successful. I was out in the field today. The road conditions are improving dramatically. Where I was at, I would expect that that's the case throughout the parish. We've had over 100+ crews that are in our program in the parish working. That's along with fire districts and water districts and everybody working together. So it's not just the crews that we have. So the conditions have improved. I'm very satisfied with that. So the routes are coming available more and more. We're beginning to turn our attention to look and focus on the spots that we have major wire entanglements. Go back to those places and try and get that solved so that we can get the roads further open. We will, before too long, be turning our attention to the actual debris pickup, which will be the next phase. So working through some of the logistics on that, trying to be ready to go with that. Just to give you some ideas that the vegetative pickup will probably start first, and we need the citizens out there that are doing the things that they're doing to begin thinking about stacking that and sorting their debris accordingly. We'll push out more information on how to do it, but obviously the vegetative debris that's coming from the homes and the roads is starting to stack up at the edge of the roads, and it'll start to encroach back into the lane. So let's try and avoid cluttering up the roads if we can, but at the same time, we realize people are going to be bringing it to us, and we'll begin the process of getting it out. One thing I want to highlight that citizens can help in a lot of ways is you're moving debris to its destination and hopefully get picked up. Please try and acknowledge water system meters that may be there, water valves. Everything that we stack on top of those fittings and valves just makes it that much harder for our water districts to get there and service those things. They're needing to use those, turn them on and off, test the system, so they need access to those things. So if you have a water meter at your house and it's not needed and you have leaks, we'd ask you to seal it, turn it off if you can. That's just going to help the system pressure up and be ready to run for everyone. And then as each individual gets their own leak fixed, the systems will stay up and running, and that'll be a good thing. I want to absolutely encourage even more safe driving than the previous couple days. For the past 2 days, it's been hard to get going at any speed at all. But now those roads are opening up. People are driving faster. There's more people in town. There is everybody needs to, I think Sheriff said it best, please be as patient as you can. So with this access comes problems. We don't need wrecks and things like that propping up. So it's a good thing, but we must practice, that safe driving in all those intersections. There will be a program. We'll start to put up all the stop signs first, and things like that will start popping up where we can. So try and help people identify where you need to be stopping, but you're going to have to find it for yourself right now if you're here, and please do. I think that is the bulk of my report, Brian. If there's any questions or something later, then I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Very important, and I also want to mention, and Sheriff mentioned it yesterday, it's very important. There's so many traffic lights, not only not working, some have been just demolished, not even there. So you have to treat every intersection as a four-way or all-way stop. Very important. We've all noticed the traffic picking up, and it's a little scary because they're fast. Okay, I'm going to cover the utilities items today. Entergy and Beauregard Electric, of course, gave a good statement yesterday in person. I'm going to read a statement from Margaret Harris with Entergy. We didn't receive one from Beauregard Electric, but it's a similar story. So let me just read the one from Entergy. Hurricane Laura caused significant damage to Entergy's transmission and distribution system. The storm impacted hundreds of high-voltage transmission lines. Power must be restored to those lines and substations in order to energize the distribution lines that serve businesses and homes. Damage assessments and repairs are ongoing in Calcasieu Parish. It could take several days before we can complete assessments and provide estimated restoration times for the hardest hit areas. Portions of our electrical system will need to be rebuilt. That's how big it is. And she says we will be providing additional information as soon as it becomes available. So certainly any updates to those, we'll get them here when we can. Damage assessments, we know they have to know what's wrong before they can fix it, and safety is so key there. I notice y'all probably seen, I have two people testing lines and things before they do it. So they're still in the assessment phase, but it's fast. It's working well. And again, Beauregard Energy is in the same situation. We now want to talk about water utilities. And of course, for those who maybe are not aware, we have in the parish 6 municipalities, and then outside of that, they are called special service districts or water districts. I think we have in excess of 10 of those. Some of those the parish operates, some are operated by boards. So this general statement applies to all of those. Residents in Calcasieu Parish inside and outside of municipalities who are experiencing water outages are being urged to turn off their water at the roadside water valves if they are able to safely do so. This assists providers to begin delivering services sooner while reducing issues like leaks or broken pipes that would cause a shutdown of the water system. These water systems have to build pressure, and you can't get that if they're not able to build it up because everybody's valves are open. Please contact your water system provider should you suspect a leak or other damage to your water system. Once water is restored, this one's important, it is advised residents to adhere to a boil advisory until it is safe for those advisories to be lifted. Those advisories, and when they're lifted, will come from each operator of those systems, whether it be cities or special districts. Finally, make sure water meters are cleared from debris to avoid further damage and connectivity delays, which I think Mr. Wainwright pointed out. So any questions? I don't know if I can answer them on the water or utility statements. At this time, we actually have an announcement from the Calcasieu Parish School Board Superintendent Carl Brookhouse, who is here with us today. So, Carl, I'll ask you to come up.
Thank you. We had two companies on standby Wednesday, knowing what was going to hit. So Thursday, they were on the ground. One company has the west side of the parish, plus a few of our central offices. Another company has the east side. We met at noon today to get assessments from them. We had about 3% of our 70 buildings that had no damage, or virtually no damage. One company assesses theirs on percentage. Another one does it on 1 through 5, 5 being the worst. There were a lot of 100% and 5s. I'll just tell you that. So we're very concerned, obviously, with the timing. We did send out a message to our whole system, employees and students, just a few minutes ago, actually while I was on the way here, just kind of apprising them of what I just told you, that stay tuned. We'll let you know how things are going, but we certainly anticipate that it will be a while. A lot of roofs, some of our big high schools, Sulphur Barb lost most of their roof. So you're talking about 60, 70,000 square feet of roofing. It's going to be a lot of time involved in doing that. So the companies are working now to dry in the facilities. So temporary roofing where that's applicable, keeping the moisture low so we don't get the mold and mildew in the schools that we have seen in the past for other issues. So that's our plan right now. As soon as we get that done, we will start bidding out projects, many of them, using FEMA guidelines, of course, in the hope that there might be some FEMA money down the road that would go above our limit. And the limit for the school board per occurrence, and this hurricane would be one, is 40 million. We feel like right now we're going to be pushing that pretty hard. So it's going to be important that we follow all the FEMA guidelines very specifically so that we can make a claim. And so we're very aware of that, and we're going to go through procurement requirements that exist with that. So, any questions? Thank you.
We appreciate Carl being here today on this very recent announcement. And I'm just an observation. I'm listening to Carl and how the school board and their buildings got damaged. I know from the parish's side and in talking to cities and others, it's becoming clear each day. We're only, what, is it day 3? For those who maybe are not here and don't have a sense of the magnitude, it's natural to compare it to Rita because that's our one big one we have to compare it to. Very similar type damage, except extremely more. We had a few buildings in Rita hit. Here, almost every one of ours is damaged. You heard the schools. The water system damage, I think, wasn't that bad after Rita. And this one, it's almost every water system in the parish. So it's the magnitude is the difference here. Very similar damage, but not, Rita, I'm not saying, Rita was big, don't get me wrong, but we're trying to give a scope here, and that, I hadn't heard that about the school board and the extent of that damage. That's very unfortunate. This time, we're going to have a section about general instructions to citizens who may want to come back, and we're going to ask Dick Grimion. He's got an update on that, and Sheriff, if you'd like to follow, you can. That's up to you, and then we'll get to representatives from the FEMA and the Red Cross.
Thank you, Brian. Each day since this has happened, both the sheriff and I have tried to express to the public how serious a safety issue is that we have here in the parish right now. As he stated, there are power lines dangling from roads. It may look clear. You get up there, there's a wire right in the middle of the road. So drive very slowly and very carefully. All four-way stops are now, all red lights now are four-way stops. Main reason, most of the red lights are on the ground. I want to cover, again, generator safety. We can't stress enough, the sheriff is very passionate about this. We had a Category 4 hurricane and virtually no injuries. After the hurricane, now we've had 5 carbon monoxide deaths from improper use of a generator. You cannot put a generator in any sort of enclosed space. And you might say, well, I have a barn or I have a garage and it's open. Negative. If you have any sort of enclosed space, you cannot run that generator there. You risk the danger of carbon monoxide poisoning, and we've already had too many here this week. And I'm going to let the sheriff, if he has some comments about that.
So everybody may think, and look, none of us have slept a whole lot in the last few days, so if we don't make sense or I forget something, I apologize, because we have a lot to tell you. I'm telling you, Mayor, I know you're coming up in a minute, and so if I forget something, just reiterate what we said. But when we talk about generators, we're not just talking about carbon monoxide and not touching power lines. You realize people are putting generators and they're hooking them up inappropriately, and it could backfeed and endanger these workers that are working. or if somebody's clearing something with a tractor and they hit one of those lines, just because you think they're dead because we have no power, don't assume that's the case. You're putting other people in danger when you do that. So, again, I can't, when it comes to generator power, I can't say enough. The four-way stop signs, I'm glad you mentioned that, Wayne and Mr. Wainwright and Dick. I just stress again the importance of the dangers that are lurking out there for you. You know, I will tell you this disaster is worse than Rita in the sense of the destruction and what's mangled and messed up. But I will tell you this, we have more resources on the ground right now, than we ever had with Rita. Rita, it took a couple weeks to get those resources. I'm telling you, we have those resources now. I'm looking out, I see our partners with the National Guard. We have FEMA here on the ground with us. We have so many federal and state resources. The president was here and he assured us that he knows this is going to be long-term. So we're going to get through this. You know, we were already on our knees when COVID hit and we were struggling. You know, now we're on our backs, but we are going to get up. We're not going to lay down, all right? This is a strong, strong community. We have the resources here to help us, but it's going to take a lot. Don't think it's going to be easy either. But we need the help of you, the public. We need you to be strong and to be patient and to be self-sufficient. Okay, that's important. I think we can meet basic needs like food and water. I think that's being set up. Bottled water, yeah, bottled water. But listen, there's a big problem with fuel and being able to get in and out of this place. So you got to take care of yourself in that regard. All right? All right. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else, Dick, unless you.
Thank you, Sheriff. And just to illustrate how passionate the sheriff is about these safety issues, and you know, being around him for all these years, I've never seen him this emotional for such a long period of time. Is that fair to say, Sheriff?
Yeah, it's fair to say. This is a tough event, and it's going to be tough.
Right. And just to reiterate, there is no easy answer to the recovery. It's going to take a daily grind. Everyone's going to have to do their part. Mr. Wainwright talked about, you know, debris, and I mean, there's so many things that have to be done, but we are working on those. The sheriff mentioned, or we mentioned, life-sustaining food, water, food and water in particular, ice, and coming also will be tarps. We have a staging area at the Lake Charles Civic Center that has food, water, and ice. And I think we'll have tarps tomorrow, but I can't promise that. They're looking at setting up a same type of staging area in the Sulphur area. We'll have more information forthcoming about the location and the times of operation. And we are lucky to have our FEMA representative here with us today. You can ask him some questions. Gerard Stoller, Jerry, if you could come on up and have a few comments.
Thanks, Dick. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the federal assistance that's going to be available, but before I do, I just want to make a couple comments about what Sheriff Mancuso had to say and some personal experiences I've had here in the state. You know, first of all, on behalf of all my colleagues from FEMA that are working here in Louisiana, our thoughts and prayers with all of you who have been affected by what has been it's truly historic event. And it seems like Louisiana has a lot of these. I've worked with Dick in the past. I was here in 2016 for the flooding that hit Louisiana. Actually had my first disaster experience back in 2010 up in Shreveport. So I've spent a lot of time in Louisiana, and the thing that's impressed me is just how passionate and resilient the residents of this state are about their way of life and their ability to recover. And to comments that Dick, you made, and Sheriff Mancuso about how long it's going to take to recover, that's absolutely on the mark. I wasn't here in 2005. I hadn't joined FEMA yet, but when I was here in 2010, we were still recovering, working with you after Rita, okay? So we got a long way to go, but we are going to be here with you, and we're going to work together as a team, right? I think all of you know that the President did declare a major disaster declaration late last night, and that included the Individual Assistance Program. I think it's real important right now that if you have sustained any damage as a result of Hurricane Laura, that you register. And you can do that a lot of different ways. 1-800-621-3362 is the most common and easiest way to register for federal assistance. That's 1-800-621-3362. Now, if you're fortunate enough, though, that you have, you can get onto the internet, and I know that that could be a challenge given where we're at right now, but www.disasterassistance.gov is where you can also go to register for federal assistance. So that's the first step. That's what will get the process started for you to become eligible for federal assistance. Now, after you register, the other thing is if you do have insurance, it's very important that you contact your insurance adjuster, because that's going to factor in to the amount of federal assistance that you're going to be able to receive. Okay, so we encourage you to contact your adjuster and begin that process, because that documentation is going to be very important as your case moves along. When you register, there's some important information we need to have in order to process your application. We need a phone number where we can reach you, your social security number, a current mailing address, the address of the damaged property, because we realize that many of you are displaced and you're staying perhaps with another family member or relative. So we need the address of the damaged property. And begin to document the type of damages that you've sustained at your residence. Take pictures, okay? Save any receipts that you are accumulating. If you are back working at your damaged home, save those receipts. Some of those expenses could be eligible for reimbursement. And I spoke earlier about the insurance information. You need to have that as well when you call in to apply. After you've registered with FEMA, you will then be contacted by a housing inspector. And due to the COVID-19 environment, we've made an adjustment to this process. There may be some inspectors actually on the ground here in Calcasieu Parish, but that inspection could also occur over the phone. And that inspector will ask you a series of questions about the damage to your home in order to verify the amount of damage, the type of damage that you had. So there's going to be kind of a combination of approaches to how we're going to do this housing inspection. And this is going to be true for a lot of the processes that you're going to see with our individual assistance program. We're going to make some adjustments based on the COVID-19 environment that we're all working in. So after the housing inspection is complete, then your case will be processed and a determination will be made on the type of assistance that you will be eligible for. And that is going to depend from household to household. And it's all based on a lot of the criteria that I've already touched upon. I know that housing is a big concern for all of you. There are a lot of different forms of housing that you could be eligible for. Some of it will be of a temporary nature while your home is being repaired. And some forms of housing could be longer term. The shorter term housing option could involve a household qualifying to be placed into a hotel for a short period of time until their home becomes livable. If the damage is more significant, then there could be a more permanent option or a longer term option. And I know many of you are familiar with the manufactured housing units, are commonly called here in Louisiana, referred to as the FEMA trailers. And that is an option that will be considered. But I think, as all of you know, that takes a lot of time to put into place. Okay, due to the where we're at here in Southwest Louisiana, there are a lot of issues that have to be worked through with regards to the placement of these units. And I'll be working very closely with Dick and his staff as we get to that point in the recovery. So again, I just want to stress that right now, the most important thing to do is to register for federal assistance. That can be done, again, 1-800-621-3362, or applying online at www.disasterassistance.gov. I certainly look forward to working with all the members of the Calcasieu Parish staff. Dick, look forward to working with you again. And again, I can't tell you how impressed I've been over the years working in Louisiana at just how resilient this state is, and how passionate you are about your way of life and your willingness to persevere through even the most challenging circumstances. So again, I look forward to spending more time with all of you during this process. Thank you.
Real quick from the captain at Troop D, we've got an 18-wheeler, I believe, that's on I-10 bridge that crashed, and we're having to divert traffic. So and that's what I mean. You know, just when we make progress somewhere else, something else happens and just kicks us, hits us again. So I want to tell people, and I meant to say this, and I'm sorry, and Colonel DeZormo, if you'll come up and just give a little brief what the National Guard's doing, but we have sheriffs and their deputies. I have 5 sheriffs here helping me from Jefferson Parish, Ascension Parish, East Baton Rouge Parish, Plaquemine Parish, Lafayette Parish, and I can tell you that if I can call them from all over the United States. We've helped them, and they're going to come help us. So you're going to have protection. We're going to be there for you, but we want you to do your part. You have a stake in this, and I'm talking about the public. You are more important than any of them to us because you're our eyes and ears, and you got to do your part for safety. Colonel, if you'll come up and kind of discuss some of the efforts that you've done to help out so far.
Thank you, Sheriff, and Mr. Grimion and Mr. Mayor, all the folks we've been working with since we've been here. It's truly an honor for the National Guard to be working with the citizens of Calcasieu. Within hours of the storm passing, we had soldiers on the streets assisting with search and rescue. Luckily, the water event was not as bad as we had anticipated. We realized really quickly that it was the wind that was going to cause the most destruction here in the parish. And so within hours, we had approximately 100 soldiers that were on the streets doing search and rescue. And by the end of that day, we had 120 soldiers out providing fixed site security. Here we are, about 72 hours later, we have well over about 500 to 600 soldiers that are now operating within the parish. To date, we have rescued 262 folks through this health and welfare check that the sheriff listed, the sheriff's department gave to us to go out and find folks that were in need. And so we've already rescued over 262 folks to date. We have 371 soldiers that are out providing security in your parish, well, on the east side of the parish. And on the west side over in DeQuincy, we have another 70 or so that are providing some security there. Today, we opened up a pod distribution site at the Lake Charles Civic Center. And as of 30 minutes ago, we had serviced over 4,900 vehicles had passed through there to receive commodities. Today, the commodities that we're able to give out, MREs, water, and ice. We have a shipment of tarps that are en route that will be here this afternoon, and tomorrow we'll begin passing out tarps as well. Also, in addition to this, you know, as the sheriff mentioned, we started off before the storm came, we're already dealing with COVID, and COVID has not gone away either. So beginning tomorrow, we'll be able to resume COVID testing here in the parish, a location to be determined somewhere in the parish. So I guess my point to you is that we, you know, the first 24 hours, we were constantly building our response force here as resources were flowing into the parish. And I think that we're on a good trajectory to be able to continue to provide security assistance to the sheriff, which frees up his deputies to do those roaming type patrols throughout the parish to protect the citizens. And we'll continue to bring in the commodities to help ease that suffering for the citizens. There's plans for at least another pod to be opened, and we're going to work closely with the parish government to get commodities pushed further out into the parish. Because if we know, as he also mentioned, fuel is an issue. And so if you're having to drive all the way over here to get commodities, they're having, you know, that's burning up that fuel that's difficult to be had. So we're going to come up with strategies in close conjunction with the parish government here to get the commodities pushed out into the communities in a more effective manner. So again, we're very honored to be able to work with all of you guys. I would like the citizens of Calcasieu to know that your parish government and city governments are working very hard all day, every day for us to overcome this disaster. Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Thank you, Colonel. Let me just affirm what Tony said. The Louisiana National Guard is an extremely valuable resource in these situations, and that's been the case previous years, and it's certainly the case now. We appreciate it very much. And I want to mention, too, I know that they're still working out details. We recognize that these pods with ice and so forth and food that are needed, some of the smaller towns away from the main pod area, people may not have gas, or they're trying to work to where they can get some of those delivered remotely. That's still in progress. More details to come, but we recognize for those folks who aren't here that that's something you need. Okay, we're going to a little further now on services to in our recovery. We want to hear from Joshua Wakim. He's the Chief Executive Officer of State of Louisiana for the American Red Cross. We appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Thank you all for having us. The American Red Cross currently has 4 key mission priority areas that we're focusing on. They're going to be the distribution of emergency supplies. They're going to be feeding, sheltering, and damage assessment. Our mobile distribution mission teams were out in the community beginning yesterday. We didn't have much success on the penetration due to in those supplies because of the access. But they were out today again, and Public Works, as he mentioned, did a great job. We've been able to penetrate more areas and distribute more supplies, which is great. And we're going to continue those supply distribution activities ongoing, and we know we'll get to more and more homes. But in addition to the mobile distribution of those supplies, we're also going to, we also confirmed 2 fixed disaster supply sites that will open starting tomorrow. And those are the McMurray Park at 300 South Hazel Street in Sulphur, as well as the Lake Charles Civic Center. We'll have our supplies on site starting at noon, and and we'll stay open 3 o'clock or later. Haven't got quite confirmation on how long we can stay, but when we get that, we'll work on that. Those DES supplies that we'll be able to distribute will include cots, mops, brooms, buckets, gloves, shovels, rakes, those types of supplies. We'll also have PPE. We'll have snacks. We'll have some bottled water at those sites. And in addition, at those sites, we're also going to be adding some feeding missions. So we will be adding at the Lake Charles Civic Center and McMurray Park. Starting tomorrow, we'll do tomorrow is Sunday. We'll start at a 6 p.m. feeding run, and so we'll serve dinner there. It's a hot meal, and then starting Monday, we'll expand that to 2 and possibly 3 sites. We'll expand Monday to possibly 3 sites, but we'll also start on Monday with 2 times per day. We'll be feeding at lunch and at 6 p.m. dinner. We're partnering with the Southern Baptist for delivering and serving those meals. We'll actually be purchasing the food. We'll be delivering and distributing the meals, and the Southern Baptist will be they'll be cooking the meals for us. So thank you to the Southern Baptist. Also, across the state, the American Red Cross has been supporting congregate and non-congregate shelters. We have the capacity to open up more congregate shelters, and using the PPE and COVID protocols, we can do that. But we'll be working with our parishes to identify if there is a need and the possible locations to do that. And also, I mentioned damage assessment. Damage assessment is important in order for us to move forward with our individual assistance programs as well as our financial assistance programs. So we must get sound damage assessment of the areas. So we'll have volunteers in the community and the parishes, including Calcasieu, identifying the damages. And then once we identify the damages so we can roll out our programs, we'll be announcing the registration numbers to folks to call. We'll also be working with our parishes and our state to message that information out. We'll do social media messaging and press releases in order to get that information out to everyone. So that's how the American Red Cross will be helping in the first phases. Any questions? Thank you.
I must say, it feels good to hear from Red Cross, FEMA, Louisiana National Guard. The help is so much needed here, and the speed has been great, so thank you all. We're going to hear from a couple of our elected officials today. Tony Gilroy, our police jury president, was unable to attend. He had to attend to an urgent matter, but we want to ask Nick Hunter, Mayor of Lake Charles, to come up and give some comments.
Thank you, Brian. Good evening, everyone. We've all heard that phrase that Rome wasn't built in a day, and I can tell you that Lake Charles is not going to be rebuilt in a day either. We are still literally 48 hours out from the strongest hurricane to hit Louisiana in the last 150 years. It is sometimes attractive. Perhaps the media likes to pick up on this when local government or locals want to throw stones at other agencies or say, we're not getting the help we need, this agency didn't show up. Well, I'm going to tell you guys, we didn't have to say, where's the National Guard? The National Guard was here. The National Guard was here when we needed them. We didn't have to say, where's FEMA? FEMA was here. FEMA's here right now. I'll echo what Sheriff Mancuso said about kind of comparing this experience to other disasters. My staff that was here in Rita, they've told me the same thing. I was a civilian in Rita. I evacuated. But I'm here right now, and a lot of my staff that was here in Rita is telling me this is worse than Rita. The damage is worse, but our recovery effort is further along right now than it was even in Rita. And it's because a lot of those assets and probably a lot of the lessons learned, to be honest, a lot of the lessons learned. So those assets are here and they're working tirelessly for you. We've already had the message about electricity. I don't think as Mayor of Lake Charles I can stress it anymore, but electricity is going to be a while. What I do have a little more control over is our water system, and I'm going to tell you, water's going to be a while. Once again, 48 hours out from the strongest hurricane to hit Louisiana in 150 years. I want you to picture a straw that's a mile long, and let's say you actually have the water plant at one end, and let's say the water plant was actually repaired and able to pump water into that straw. Well, now I want you to think about going along that straw and poking 1,000 holes along that straw. Every yard in Lake Charles probably has, if it had a tree in it, it's down, or one tree or two trees is down per yard. I can't tell you how many of those trees snapped water lines in half. So even if that water plant is functioning and pumping water to the end of that straw, there's 1,000 holes right now in that water line. So it's going to take time. There are areas of Lake Charles with a trickle of water, but let me tell you, if everybody comes back right now and everybody starts to suck on that trickle, it's going to go away for everybody. So I want people home. I want my family home right now. And I'm telling my family not to come home right now. And that's a really hard thing to do, to be here without my family. But that's okay. That's my job. And I'm fine. But I'm encouraging people that have the means to do it. Don't come back to Lake Charles unless you absolutely have to. I can tell you again, with that scenario I just laid out with our water system, which is very real, we're not only relying on internal staff right now, we're bringing in the cavalry. We're bringing in contractors and outside agencies to help us with this system, because I don't even want to think how long it would take if we were only relying on our internal staff right now to fix that system. So we're expending every resource we have, and we're reaching out and bringing in every resource we have. I love what you said about turning off the water meters, and I'm going to encourage people, if you come back to town and you're checking on your property, turn off your water meter before you leave, because you could have a break in the line, and that's one less hole that we might have to fix. So, well, we'll eventually have to fix it, but that's one less break we have to worry about immediately. So turn off your water meters. And again, I mentioned a moment ago, if you have the means, stay outside of Lake Charles. We realize not everybody has the means to do that. We are already in a tough financial and economic situation as a country. As a country we were. Right now, this is even more that's been thrown on the backs of a lot of our local citizens. So please make use of those resources through FEMA. Make use of those resources through the American Red Cross. I want to welcome Joshua and his team to Lake Charles. He has been wonderful, reached out to me, and I'm going to have the opportunity to meet with him after this. But there are resources there also, even though they are overwhelmed. 211 is another great resource, and United Way, our local United Way, is going to take care of our citizens if they have the means to do so, if they have the resources to do so. And for those that are watching right now, Americans across the country, there's many opportunities for financial support. American Red Cross is certainly a great one, but our local United Way and our local community foundation both have funds set up specifically for Hurricane Laura. We talked about safety. I was driving around last night, and I didn't know where I was going. I am born and bred here. I know Lake Charles like the back of my hand. There were some areas of town that I was getting through that I didn't know where I was going. I had to stop and be very cautious. And that comment about the low-hanging power lines is on point. You will come up to that thing, and you won't see it until it's right on your windshield. That's very much on point. And if you are able to traverse through the streets, I guarantee you're going to get a flat tire. I guarantee you're going to get a flat tire if you're trying to drive around Lake Charles. I got a flat tire on my way to Chenault this morning. I had to call Public Works, and I have the luxury to do this, and they're able to help me. I had to call Public Works. They had to come change the tire, and I had to get back to downtown Lake Charles. I had to have someone else drive me back to downtown Lake Charles. But you're going to get a flat tire if you're able to traverse the roads. A couple last things, and I'll open up for some questions. I want to talk a little bit about just who I think Lake Charles is and who are we as a people. I've been able to talk to some people on the phone, and they've said, hey, is it worth it? Are you glad that you're mayor right now? And I got to be honest, there's some times through this where I've thought about it, but this is a resilient community. This is a strong community. I would rather be nowhere in the world right now than right here getting through this with my brothers and sisters here in Lake Charles. Also, to the rest of the citizens that are out there who live in Lake Charles, is it worth it? Is it worth it to come back and rebuild? You bet it's worth it, because this community is a special one, And every day that we're here, that we're not going through something like this, makes rebuilding and going through this unfortunate situation worth it. It is worth it, and we will rebuild. I was able to stop home today for a quick minute to let my dogs out. And my neighbor's son, 12-year-old son, was sweeping leaves and debris out from in front of my driveway. I said, "Oh, thank you. Your dad told you to come sweep my driveway." He said, "No." He didn't say just for your driveway. He said the whole street. And this 12-year-old kid was sweeping the whole street. He wasn't waiting on any other governmental agency to come do it. He was sweeping the street because his dad told him to. And that's Lake Charles. And that's who we're going to be, and that's who we've always been. But this is a big task. This is going to take a Herculean effort. So we're strong. We're going to get through this. And I'm even more reassured about that because I see so many of our partners in this audience right now. And they've been there for us. And I believe they're going to have our backs. I'm going to be an eternal optimist until they give me reason to say otherwise. I believe the National Guard. I believe FEMA. I believe the state and the federal agencies. I believe they're going to have our backs. Until they give me reason to say otherwise, that's going to be my position. All right? I'll open it up if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I believe that's it on our elected officials. To let everybody know, we are going to try to have daily briefings. Tomorrow, I think it's Sunday. It's August 30th. At 4 p.m. We had it at 5 today because a president was in town and it put some delays on us, but we'll get back to a 4 p.m. slot. In the meantime, certainly on our parish website, calcasiewparish.gov, it's dedicated fully to hurricane response. We encourage people to go to that or your individual city or agencies. Remember, FEMA gave the number earlier. We will have that information for you on our site as well. Jerry, could you, I want to mention, how about I mention one more time, is it 1-800-62? 1-800-621-3362 or www.disasterassistance.gov. FEMA is encouraging us. The first thing to do is register through either the phone or that website to get started. And we appreciate everyone attending today and those who are watching from outside the area and those who are here. Have a good rest of the evening. We'll be in touch tomorrow.